I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming. I say that before the forum. Should be I don't know if it's going to be a long meeting or not, so if there's anybody in the audience that is time pressed, you might raise your hand and we'll see if we can't get to you before. We have several things to cover tonight. First of all, I'd like to say to the community and to everyone who's present here, I'm sure most of you know by now, but our board vice president has passed away, John Reedy. And that was a tough one. So arrangements are through Simplicity Funeral Arrangements out of Zionsville. It's Friday night and Saturday morning. So the showing is Friday night and the service is Saturday morning. He gave it his best shot. He was in the hospital for 7 weeks and tried his best, but couldn't get out of it. So we're really going to miss John. Okay, we start out with the announcements here. Clear Creek Conservancy, Dwayne.
Dwayne Kelly, 282 Patriots Landing. Our next meeting is September the 15th. And good news for the Conservancy and the freeholders of the Conservancy. The American Rescue Plan is chiseled in stone, $518,000. As I understand it, we get half of it this year, half of it next year. We had the meeting with the commissioners the other morning. Later in the week, I got an email from the READY program, which we had applied for, that they would be emailing me the contracts to sign, to electronically sign and send back. So that sounds real encouraging too. That's $619,427 for a total, if we get both of them, $1,137,427.
Congratulations, Lee. That's great.
Nice job. That's for, we're estimating right now a $5.5 million contract.
Dwayne, can I ask a question? With those grants and your reserve funds, do you anticipate needing to raise rates to help pay for this expansion?
No. And also due to somebody's thinking long before I got on the Conservancy, they've been putting money back for big projects, like the spillway. We just paid cash for the spillway, $600,000. And it looks like right now that we won't have to float a bond and probably won't have to borrow any money unless the contract comes in for a lot more than what we're expecting.
Good news. Thank you. Well done.
Thanks, Dwayne. Floyd Township Fire Department.
Fox Rakowski, 417 Gettysburg. For the month of August, we had 32 runs, which brings us up to 217 runs so far for the year. Our tanker's ready to go, good service. And we just picked up another EMT at our last meeting. We voted her on. She's from Roachdale, however, she's got a lot of certifications, and she has agreed she has a lot of downtime. On her downtime of days, she'll come out to the firehouse and spend some time out there just in case something happens. She's on scene instead of having to come from Roachdale, so.
That's great.
Things are looking up.
Great, thank you. Did anybody text AJ?
I can.
Thanks. Neighborhood Watch, no report. HLCS, Rick Miller.
Just
multitasking.
a couple quick things. The change in seasons is upon us, so we will begin working on the annual telephone directory soon, probably next month. But just a reminder for everyone in the community, if you are not already in the white pages and you want to be, you need to call the office and let them know, because they must have your permission, or when they give me the list, they won't give your name to me. So also, if you're interested in advertising in the yellow pages, you can contact HLCS at hlhighlights@gmail.com, and we'll send you information to help you advertise. That's all I got.
Thank you. Hellneck, Jan?
Jan Solis, 65 Gettysburg. We just finished a pretty successful garage sale and food concessions downstairs last week. And we raised just over $1,000 for Heritage Lake scholarships and for Hellneck. So we're very appreciative of that, and all supporters have donated items, as well as patrons that ate meals with us and that kind of thing. The next event is wine tasting, or Wine Fest, on October 1st, and reservations could have been made starting September 1st, but it was full by September 2nd.
Wow.
So it filled up very quickly. We can only take
What does that tell you?
50 people. I know. We may have to drink more wine more often during the year or something. So if this is successful, which we think it will be, maybe we would do a spring one and a fall one. So if you're not signed up, it's your loss, and wait for the next one to come around. After that, and towards the end of October, is Trunk or Treat, and that's it for Hellneck. Any questions? Or any questions?
Thank you, Jan.
Okay, thank you.
POA security, Ken?
All righty, Brian's still in Florida on vacation, so I got his report. 1 disturbance call, 1 suspicious person, 9 traffic stops, 2 administration calls, 2 animal complaints, 2 lockouts, 1 personal injury crash, 2 alarms, 1 assist another agency, 1 child custody, 1 theft, 1 fraud, 1 weapon complaint, 4 paper service, 3 psychiatric calls, 2 911 hang-ups, 1 traffic accident with property damage only, and 1 civil matter call. That's it.
Okay. One note, just to keep the ball rolling on security and items in the neighborhood. If you have a neighbor that has a pesky dog that won't stop barking, try and handle it yourself and go to the neighbor and suggest that. I mean, a lot of times what I've found, at least personal experience, I have found dogs left alone on the outside of the house, and the people go shopping, or they go to work, or they go someplace, and they don't, and it's a quiet dog when they're there, and they don't realize that when they're not there, the dog's trying to find out where they are and just barks constantly. So I've left a few notes in the last few months, and it's stopped. And I just said, FYI, when you're gone, your dog barks. So keep that in mind out in your neighborhoods. Okay, Garden Club. I don't see anybody here. Presentation of agenda. I assume we can move forward. We have a couple things that I know of that are going to be handed to us through the open forum. I've had a few calls. As you, just so you know, as far as the membership goes, I like to keep the agendas from the ops meetings. We make the agenda unless there's something absolutely crucial to the neighborhood. I like to stay on those agendas so that we can move forward and do our homework as a board between the ops and the board meeting. So if there's anything that needs to come up during forum, we'll address it then. Presentation of minutes. August 8th board meeting. Take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
August 29th operations meeting. I'll take a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Treasurer's report. AJ got here just in time.
That's right. Just in the nick of time. August 2022 accrued income for the month of August is $109,732.93. Total expenses were $121,877.84, leaving a net income balance of negative $12,144.91. That stuff's kind of typical this time of year. Just not as many incoming fees and assessments, things like that. A little bit more end of season. I bet there was probably a multitude of fuel purchased in the month of August at the marina that we probably had to buy and replenish. Year-to-date, accrued income year-to-date is $1,398,898.57. That's a lot of eights. Total expenses year-to-date are $1,168,178.31, leaving a net income balance in the positive of $230,720.26. As of the end of August, short-term checking account balance is $806,677, and total CD money market accounts is $209,525, for a total of just over $1 million. $1,016,202.97.
Thank you, AJ. Committee reports. A&E, no report. The last meeting we had a couple fences. Other than that, I will get to A&E subject under new business. Okay, campground, Rick?
Rick Stevens, 95 Victory Hill. Only question we have for the campground is the door on the storage facility, if and when that's going to be replaced. It was cut at the beginning of the season, and I'm just afraid somebody's going to do something stupid, stick their hand in there and cut it or whatever. Steve was saying there's a work order put in for it, but it's still sitting there cut.
Okay, I'll have to follow up on it. I really didn't know anything about a damaged door.
Oh, okay. Yeah, something about a nail being hung up underneath it, so they just cut up the door to get it open.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Rick. Cleanup committee? Anything?
We just have a meeting on the 14th at 7 o'clock.
Tom?
If I could just add, I'd just like to remind the community that we're going to have our cleanup this Saturday. I believe this Saturday is the 17th, is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
It'll be this Saturday, the 17th of September, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And just a reminder, there are no toxic waste accepted, no latex or oil paints, etc. Oil will be accepted. Thank you.
Okay. That's the 17th. What time does that start? 8?
8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
And that's at the
Maintenance building.
maintenance building?
Thanks for reminding me.
Huh? Okay, government committee, Rick Olson?
Rick Olson, 51 Mill Springs. The commissioners meeting on the 15th of August, spoke with Jim Peck beforehand, and he did say, like one of the gentlemen said last meeting, that they would do on these roadways, or that have cul-de-sacs on them, that they would provide labor on half of the materials. So I don't have that in writing yet, so don't take that to the bank. But he said they would do that. So we still need to get some more information on it, and we can talk later about that. Jim did agree that it was a higher priority for the county to do the double chip and seal on Betsy Ross Drive rather than 800 East this year. So it's in really bad shape. It's it's just about a gravel road. So that's gonna be done. In the next meeting, they stated that Milestone was gonna do Heritage Drive this week, and I believe that's still the case. But the other roads, they said would be done this week, but I guess we got into other information that's gonna be the following week. So stay tuned, we'll see. And I don't know if you all saw the email that Ken sent, or that was sent out this week. So we'll try to update again if that changes, I guess. He did talk about, they are gonna put in for doing the east side of Heritage Drive next year. They're talking about a treatment called a double micro seal. And I don't know much about it, but I'm gonna be looking into that some more. So, they did, and a bit of another good news, the county's considering the purchase of a new brush cutter. So hopefully that'll help with our situations at the intersections that we have. As you know, some of them are in pretty bad shape. This one's gonna be able to reach out and hopefully get further off the road. So that's, we're still hoping on that. There's, on the reports I gave, they mentioned in the commissioners meeting that they were gonna be running out of millings, which they need for the double chip and seal treatments. But I guess, again, you guys get better information than we do at the commissioners meetings. But I guess Ken and Paul, I think, talked to the, the road superintendent, and he said they have plenty. So that is used in that one. And it wouldn't have affected what they're doing here, but they said they couldn't do all of the roads that they have in their 7-year plan, but evidently that's not the case. So. Also, I did drive the majority of the roads that are in the 7-year plan, and all the way back to 2018, the double chip and seal work they've done is holding up really well. So I was happy to see that. Obviously, there's potholes here and there, and then I also drove the ones that will be done in the future, and we'll look at that and make sure, like this Betsy Ross swap thing we did, we'll make sure that the worst roads are being done first. And we'll get together on that probably next spring and confirm that. So that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, Lake Committee, Rick?
Yeah, they did have their meeting, and nothing really eventful to report, except our focus has been on and will be on reviewing the feast and ski and evaluating what to do for next year differently. And we're working on the lake rules, any possible changes, so we expect to submit something to you next month, or for next month. And I can tell you, just based on the initial dialogue, there won't be many, if any, changes. We'll also be reviewing any changes to the questions on the watercraft operating permit test. That's pretty much what went on.
Next meeting the 21st.
Can't tell you exactly
Next
about looking at the
Wednesday?
calendar, sorry.
It's the third Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 21st.
Yeah. Clean water. Phil, you have anything?
Sure. Well, McKinley 330 Patriots Landing. Nobody needs to take any furious notes up there because I do have a copy of the report that you just have for the records. This is anticlimactic since it was presented at the Lake Committee, and then most of it also appeared in the last highlights, which I'm sure that you've all read. In case there's anybody listening that hasn't heard that, water samples were submitted to Montgomery County Health Department on August 17th that Ken had collected and submitted. The results were outstanding. Instead of doing fecal coliform, it tested a slightly more encompassing test this time. Actually, I said that wrong. Instead of testing only E. coli, which is what the EPA generally recommends, they tested for fecal coliform, which includes not only E. coli, but some other things as well. The other things tend to be less likely to be harmful for persons, so that's why they scaled to just doing the E. coli more frequently in the EPA standards. So you'd think that by including the more encompassing tests, the results might be somewhat higher, and they were not. The most stringent standard out there is to be less than 126 counts per sample of water, and our average was 3.4. It is the lowest we've ever had. In recent years, they've averaged about 6. In the article in the highlights, there was an editor's note about a comment about how clean our lake was. The source of that actually goes back 3 or 4 years when our results were almost this good, but not quite. And a representative from the DNR who became familiar with our results said we might just have the cleanest lake in the state. So I think there are 3 groups we kind of need to thank right off. I think it's obviously Clear Creek Conservancy is doing its job of maintaining where our waste goes. I think we need to thank the property owners around the lake and the streams coming into the lake for what they do. And I think we also did a thanks to the farmers upstream for doing good farming practices to also keep any kind of contamination out of our lake. Because all those people collectively are doing an outstanding job. I'll just give this up here for your results, if this is for your records.
If I could add to that, I've taken in the last few years in different parts of the lake. I wanted to get as close to the beach area, all 3 beach areas, just to kind of get an idea what the water quality was like near the beaches. So that's where all 3 water samples were taken, just outside the beach areas.
Thank you. Long-term planning, nothing? Okay. Siltation, Dwayne, you know.
Dwayne Keller, 282 Patriots Landing. First thing is, we're not having a meeting in September. We will have our final meeting of the year in October and go through closing up the end of the year and start making some plans of what we're going to do next year. Also, we've got a little show and tell. If you look at the lower picture, you can see the rock and gravel that's built up next to the diversion wall in the East Fork in Jefferson Valley. The reason I did that, just as soon as there's a little pile of dirt that shows up under that water, I start getting contacted that you need to clean that East Fork out, it's getting full. And if you can look at those pictures, you can see that mountain is up against the diversion wall, and the silt is not very high. It went a long time before we cleaned it out, actually. But we did clean it out. And when Shannon is trucking out of those silt basins, the first place is he only fills his trucks half full. He does that to save the roads. So when I give the numbers of how many truckloads they are, it's actually half truckloads. But he had to make that many trips. Jefferson Valley Silt Basin, he took out 171 truckloads for a cost of $31,165. Also in the process of doing that, back 3 or 4 years ago on that hill up above the dam, that guy cut a bunch of trees up there and just dropped them on the hillside. So they just keep working down. So every time we clean out that silt basin, Shannon goes with his long reach excavator and gets as many of those. 2 of them were down, one of them was right down on the dam, and one of them was just ready to go down into which would have come down into the lake. Then Lincoln Hills, same situation. He took 261 truckloads out. I got some pretty good pictures of how much silt was in that. It had been 6 years since it was cleaned out. It still probably could have went another year and not had any real problems with it. But that was $40,795 to clean that one out. Also this year, we cleaned out, and when I say clean out a cove, I mean we start up at the inflow end of the cove, the point of the cove, and work our way out. So we don't clean the cove clear out to the lake, because the silt, if we do a good job of taking it out to start, it don't get that far. So we did clean out 6 coves, coves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Cove counting starts south of the beach at the marina and goes around sequentially around the lake. The last cove on the other side is Cove 20. We have 20 coves. We cleaned out 6 for a cost of $39,981 for a total that the siltation did this year, $11,941.
Since I live right next to the northern,
Pardon?
I live right next to the northern
Yeah.
silt basin, and he worked his heart out. I mean, it was
Yeah,
it was dusted on every single
Yeah.
day, and it was 4
Yeah.
feet deep.
And that's
It
a-
just over
that's
and
a-
over and over.
That's a good silt basin to clean out, because that whole area up there is shale bottom. So, you know, he's got shale to work on. That's why he put his excavators and trucks down in the bottom of
Yeah.
the pond and just go to work, because it's all solid shale bottom.
Nina and I know that well.
Well, and they were very efficient because they set up the pump to drain the pond Friday night and let it run the weekend. So by the time the work crews got there Monday, most of the water had been pumped out and they could scoop the silt.
Yeah, he called me Tuesday when he was working up there. I came out Wednesday morning and we talked for a good while, and he said, I'll be moving over to Jefferson Valley sometime around noon. So there's the gate around the Jefferson Valley. So I told him, I said, I'll go home, I'll go by and unlock the gate. Then when you get ready to move the pump, you're in. He called me late Wednesday evening. He said, I've sent the pump over, but he said, I'm still up here cleaning out up here. But he said, well, I'll start in the morning. So the picture that I showed you of Jefferson Valley, I came out that morning. He had just got his excavator in there and the bulldozer unloaded. That's why I took the picture. He'd sent the pump over the evening before and had it pumped out. So yeah, he's
Efficient.
he doesn't mess around.
He does not.
He's very
He does
efficient.
not.
Thanks, Dwayne. Election Committee, they don't have any report, obviously, but it might be a good time for me to just mention that October 31st is the deadline for anybody that wants to submit an application to run for the board. It's a simple process. You come to the office, pick up your what's that thing called? Petition, and you get 25 signatures for the petition. You submit that with your bio, and they'll explain that to you in the office. And each year, 3 members of the board leave the board, and we elect 3 new members. If we have 3 positions open and 3 people are running, we do not go to the expense of having an election. We just fill those positions with the people that have submitted ballots, submitted applications. This year, the 3 members coming off the board are Steve Hampton, myself, and John Reedy. Obviously, John Reedy's already off the board, so Steve Hampton and myself are up for leaving the board. I know Steve's going to be off the board. I have not made a decision yet whether I'm going to run next year, but in the meantime, I would emphasize to the community we're looking for people that are are willing to give us 3 years of, just attention. People that are willing to give attention to the community. We're not here to, well, I say this, but I don't really mean it. We don't have our own agendas. But everybody that gets on the board, obviously, no matter what board you're ever on, there is an agenda that you would like to emphasize on that board, whether it's a business board or a community board. This is my third community board, and I think I probably got on this board with more agendas personally, but they were driven by other members of the community. And so, that's probably the reason I got on the board. I had some people pay me and give me drinks and stuff, and no, I'm just kidding. But we really are looking forward to, we are looking forward to some people in the community. 3 years, it goes very, very quickly, and it's really, I think everybody on the board right now can attest, it goes pretty quickly. There are some great discussions. We're really trying to do the most positive things we can do for the community. We take all your attention seriously, and I really would look forward to some of you, especially some of you that come to these meetings, to maybe give us a shot and come on the board for 3 years. All right, enough said about that.
Jim has prepared an article for the highlights.
Okay.
Elections.
Manager's report. Ken Rozelle.
All right, the pool has been closed for the season. Our maintenance staff will be assuming the responsibility to winterize the pool. We've not done that in the past. We've always, for liability reasons, we've always felt comfortable with having a pool company close and open our pool. Unfortunately, we cannot find people that will, a pool company that will do that any longer, since they did not install the pool. They don't want anything to do with it. About 3 years ago, I did find Pettit Pool out of Crawfordsville that chose to do it for us. They have since declined doing it, so we're gonna go ahead and take care of it ourselves. I've already ordered between the campground and the pool. It takes 6 55-gallon drums of antifreeze to winterize all the lines. So I've got that on order, and we'll be doing that winterizing of the pool ourselves. This year the pool sales was right at budget. Between the swim tags and the daily passes, the pool generated $23,280 in entrance dollars. The marina hours have been adjusted since Labor Day. Current hours of operation are from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Through October 16th, and that will be the last day of operation for this year. We'll announce this multiple times because we don't want anybody to forget. Please do not forget about the October 17th. That is the beginning date of lowering the lake to 4.5 feet. Without any substantial rainfall, this should take approximately 13 to 14 days to reach that level. For anyone that stores their boat at the fairgrounds and wants to get theirs stored a little earlier than prior years, Jim Smith is the contact person over there, and he will make arrangements for you to make early storage with him. I'd also like to thank Carol Bachman and Rochelle Harcourt, along with the concert series sponsors that are responsible for all the great entertainment we've had this summer and the good times that's had by all by the summer of 2022 concerts. This information just come in today, October 10th, Aquatic Control will be setting up just before dark to do our fish study. 3 years ago, we did our fish study along with they give us the recommendations for fish stocking. This study is paid for by the Lake Committee, so they'll be doing that on the evening of October 10th. Lastly, the restaurant income to the POA from Psalms Haven for the month of August was $2,500 lease and $5,849 from 7% of the sales, totaling $8,349 for August. Totaling year-to-date collected from them has been $49,327. Next month, or this month actually, will be another month of 7% sales. Then it goes in October to 6%, and then November and December it drops down to 3%. So I'm kind of guessing around anywhere from 70 to 72,000 for the year, and that's it.
Thank you, Ken. All right, into old business. We start out with the boat dock advertisement situation.
So if you look at your handout, it was taken just mere hours ago.
Paul's Crocs.
Of Paul's shoes. If we want to, I mean, I know what it looks like. I can pass one out to the audience if they want to pass one around.
I'll pass you talk.
So anyway, we're thinking about getting some railings for the dock to hold the advertisements because it was brought to my attention that the advertisements look kind of beat up from the front of people's boats, hitting them when they docked. And so they thought it might be nice to get them up out of the water line. And so we're exploring some options for that. Obviously, it'll make them more visible, but not gaudy. They're gonna look professionally done. And so we had a piece of fence that was brought out that fits the docking system that we have. So it'll bolt on, we don't have to drill holes, we don't have to ruin any warranties or anything. We also don't have to just affix them to the poles on the end. Basically, the thought process was if you look on either side of that fencing, we could put one on the inside and one on the outside
Thank you.
of the fencing, so they'd be up, out of the water, out of the way,
Right.
and then, yeah, so on.
Here, oh, here, here.
There to point.
Here and here.
Across the top here, there would be one on this side of the thing, and then there would be one on the back side. So one on the walking side, one on the water side. And kind of the thought process was in here was to split the difference between the boats. So if you had two boats parking, the fence piece would be in the middle. So you wouldn't, most likely,
Right.
wouldn't bump up against it on the dock.
I like it.
We're getting some final pricing on that. Plus additionally, we may be trading in some dock pieces. Deaton's graciously enough in the first year is giving us all of our money on any dock pieces we want to trade out. So for example, if we paid $500 for one piece of dock, we could trade it back in for the full $500 towards other pieces, other sizes, shapes, kind of
Is there a part-
different Lego pieces.
Is there a part that we,
We're thinking about maybe extending those fingers out
Right.
5 additional feet. If we
Yeah.
took the 5-footers and we could trade them in towards the 10-footers and they could just take the 5s and replace them. So we're getting those priced out.
okay,
So it wouldn't take up any more space as far as length. It would just make the side docks a little longer to make tying up a little easier.
We found with the docks, at least up to this point, some interesting observations. One is it's never been full, so we don't feel that we need to spend money to add any more spaces. And we have not even used the dock space we've added onto the marina for boats to tie up, and we haven't used the new dock in the cove for boats to tie up. So we think we're pretty comfortable right now, except when Nina goes in. But anyway, so we're not really paying attention to adding any more spaces right now, and we've had nothing but positive reviews on these docks. They're pretty stable. We haven't received any complaints. Most people are pretty positive about it. And the only negative that we've all talked about briefly is just the fact that they're only, they're 10-foot fingers, and so, 24-foot boat, you're gonna have 10-foot boat of your boat hanging out the back, and it's, on a windy day or a real active day, it's a little bit difficult, but they work pretty well, so hence the reason why we're looking at trading out a 4-foot piece for a 10-foot piece to extend those fingers out 6 more feet. So that's what we're looking at right now. These rails, we found that the boats, especially the pontoons, they come up and they hit the signs and they damage the signs. So or AJ's thought and some other thoughts were to put the signs up on the second tier of that railing, so that if the boat does come in, it's going to come into that lower tier and not damage anything. So, like anything else that we do out here, it's trial and error. We're trying to do the best we can. If anybody has any qualms about these docks up until this point, now's the time to tell us, because we're going to make some decisions. We're going to put some of these numbers into next year's budget into categories that have to do with improving different things that we already have in those budgets. So that would be well received. Any other questions or comments on the boat docks? Ladies, gentlemen? Compliance managers, the next thing on our old business. We discussed last meeting that we've talked extensively about hiring a compliance manager for Heritage Lake. And for those of you who haven't heard it before, the position, with the amount of building and the amount of docks and the amount of renovations that we have at Heritage Lake, it's become very difficult to stay on top of everything. And it's hard to believe, but some people don't do what they say they're going to do, and if we don't jump on it right away, then we have a problem down the road. So basically, the objective to have a compliance manager at Heritage Lake is so that each and every project that's taken care of, that they've received a permit for or permission for, the compliance manager can stay on top of that and manage those particular projects, so that we don't get in the weeds on people, telling their contractor, well, we can go 4 more feet over here or 5 more feet over here, that kind of thing. At the same time, as we look at the future, we hope Ken's going to be here for another 30 years, but that's not conceivable. He's getting cranky, and eventually he's going to want to retire. And so, as we looked into this compliance manager position, as a board, we're focusing on a combination of a compliance manager and a manager trainee. We feel that the job that has been done at Heritage Lake in the last 6 years, in order to fill those shoes, we need a good 2 to 3 years of direction to any competent person that's going to take on that position. We're pretty spoiled, whether or not you realize it as a neighbor, but we are pretty spoiled. We've got a great manager, and his goal before he leaves Heritage Lake is to make sure that we're taken care of before he leaves, so that when he leaves, he's confident in whoever's going to take that position. So right now we are going to discuss the budget this year. We are going to discuss a number on that budget that we are going to use next year. If we don't find somebody next year, we will roll that over to the following year. But we are looking for just the right person to take this position. Obviously, I'm not a candidate because I'm too old, and we want someone middle-aged because we'd like to see someone stay here for a long time to get to know the community and take care of the community like Ken has taken care of the community. So that's all about the compliance manager. We will be discussing between now and the end of the year the type of course we're going to take with advertisements and so on and so forth, but We wanted the community to know we are looking for that position. We take that position very seriously. This is a futuristic position for Heritage Lake, and I think it's on top. It's right up on top for the board as it sits right now. This is very important to us. Any questions from the board members at this point? And also, so the community knows we have received a few resumes from applicants that know we're looking for this position. We are reviewing those resumes. And we move forward on that through an operations situation out of the office. New business. Marina parking lot. God, that's me again?
In fairness to you, some of these just came in today, so I'll take that if you want me to.
I would love it.
Okay. Kind of reached out to some organizations to have an estimate done for repaving the parking lot and also paving the gravel area, up towards the other end of the parking lot. The first estimate I got, I think I shared with everybody, was $180,025. Since then, I was really holding out because I felt like we needed to at least give a resident here the opportunity to bid this. And I got a bid today along with another one, and it was quite different. Lois is here tonight. Speaking with him, not having a whole lot of chance to compare apples to apples, I think he made clarification on why there is a difference. The first applicant, or the first estimate that I got was basically, if I told you guys last time, that they were going to cut out any of the bad pieces and re-asphalt them. And then they were going to put, I think, a couple inches or 3 inches of asphalt over the top of that. And then I think it was like 4 inches in the gravel area, and grade out the gravel area. Speaking with Lois today, his proposal, and he highly recommended completely cutting all of that out. And he had stated that if we did not do that, all of those cracks and seams and all that stuff will come back in 2 to 3 years. He said to do it and do it right, that is to cut out all of that, relay a base and the asphalt on top of that, and should last us 20 years. Is that what you said?
At least.
At least. So that's the difference, mainly the difference in the cost that I seen quickly reviewing these, was a lot of the labor of cutting all that out and then redoing the base of it. So
Could I say something, Ken?
Yeah.
May I?
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. Let me tell the price of the other two. The first one was $180,000. Lois's quote was $412,000, and the last one I got was $443,000, and that was kind of doing the same thing that Lois had estimated. So. Yeah, go ahead.
Lois Lance, 298 Patriots Landing. I'm the owner of Central Indiana Asphalt Concrete. I'm a licensed general engineering contractor with 2 degrees from California Swamp Run. I looked at this really close. What's happened, I'll just kind of do this real easy. See how I scratched my hand? My hand is dried out and oxidized. So is your parking lot. That asphalt is trash. It has given up the ghost. If you try to do a little patch here, put 1 inch or 2 inches on top, it's going to come back and haunt you. in my personal opinion, and I do a lot of this, I do millions of dollars a year, that needs to be excavated out, regraded, with 2.5 inches of binder, inch half of surface, restriped with 2 coats of traffic paint, you got a 20 or 30 year lot. It's a done deal. That's the right way.
Thank you.
So obviously, we were looking to see if it could possibly be done this year with our expenses and maybe not paying taxes, but at $400,000, that's not in our budget for this year. But talking to Lois today, he highly recommended waiting until next year anyway, because of the price of oil he anticipates going down, so.
It's the highest I've ever seen, and I'm paying almost, with tax, almost $100 a ton. That is unheard of. 3 years ago, I was paying $55. It's unheard of.
How
But
much
yes.
would, if your cost of material, let's say we meet in the middle, from 100 to 55, let's say we get down to 75, how much would that?
I don't think it's going to go there, sir. I don't think it's going to go that low.
Okay,
Because they're greedy.
right.
Let's call it like it is.
Yeah.
They're greedy. They're going to give us a little something to keep us shut up. I mean, I'm a pretty straight shooter, and that's where it's going to lie.
Yeah.
But it would be easier for me to give it to you then. Right now, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm sold out for the season. I don't even advertise. I mean, mine's just all word of mouth.
Sure. Well,
I just think it'd be smarter wait till the spring. I do. I think it'd come down a little bit. I mean, that if you didn't want to, I could rip it all out now, grade it, put 2.5 inches of vinyl, let it set through the winter, and put the top on in the spring. That's fine too.
okay,
But the nice thing about this material, we're digging out this millings and this old stone. Ken and I was talking about gonna put it right over here. You want to tell them where we were gonna put it at, Ken?
Yeah, I just thought we'd put it over at the campground.
Yeah.
Kind of relay that.
It'd be good for road base.
Or Lincoln Hills.
You don't have to pay us, actually save you,
Well, the plan
you'd be
was
surprised how much money you're saving if
asphalt.
you not have to take it off site.
Maybe not.
So I had to go all the way to Plainfield to bring asphalt here.
so is that savings part of this figure?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Just for curiosity, how long would, from start to finish, how long would it take you to do that parking lot?
Probably I would say 5 to 7 working days.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, we're not gonna play, we're gonna bring the big boy toys.
So, if we're going to contract with you, and let's say the board decides to do this next spring, what kind of lead time gets us on your schedule, and what's the, right now, what's the first date you would see that you could come out in spring and do it?
I would probably say the first week in April, that's when the asphalt plants will open back up. They do all the maintenance through the winter time. And to answer your first question, I live here. I want to get it done. This is a personal thing for me. I'm going to run the job myself.
Okay? 1st of April, okey-dokey.
Would you guys think it'd be best if we chose to do it next year, to do it next fall instead of in spring? I know it's 5 to 7 working days.
Part of the question is when will the funds be available?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're okay.
Well, these are all the, I'm just trying to get
Priority thing.
all the dates to have those for our discussion. I mean, this is, we're talking about twice as much money, more than twice as much money as we originally thought. What?
I was just gonna ask, is there any way to not do it all as one shot? Like the yellow parking area that has just gravel?
That's actually a very good question. A very good question. You could pick and choose whatever you want to do. And I work with budgets all the time. You could grade the gravel and pave it out, you could do that. And you could pave in the back of the, where Psalms is at. I don't even know if that's a real necessity in my opinion, but what do I know? And you could, but
No, I'm sorry, go back to that last statement. You don't know which is a real necessity. To pave the gravel?
If you-
That
right there, if you're gonna-
3,500 square foot section marked in
Blue
blue.
section.
Yes,
Behind Psalms,
yes.
that little drive.
I
Sorry.
mean, it's so minute. I mean, you look at minute, but it still costs a lot of money for me to grade and pave that. It's all, in my opinion, it's
Yeah,
gravel,
that
not
little
legal
gravel
gravel.
drive going through the gate that goes in behind the restaurant.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I was just saying from like a cost perspective, like it's 400,000, well, if we just did the yellow part, we might be able to pay for that. And then next year, or whatever, pay for another portion. But I'm just saying, is it gonna punish us for you to have to mobilize your equipment twice?
well, I have to always, I mean, you got $6 for diesel, but,
Yeah.
to answer your question, will I have to charge again for mobilization? Yes, yes.
Is that gravel part that you were just discussing, is that part of this bid?
It is.
Okay,
I'm talking about the whole shebang, everything.
Okay.
Everything, my office video, Google Earth map.
okay,
I
yeah.
hope you see it okay?
Uh-huh, yeah.
We want to make it clear, we want where Stevie Wonder to see it, I want to put it. But, I mean, this is what we have to do. But, now, that's a very good question, it really is. You could do the gravel touch that you want to do, and you could be happy with that, at the time being.
Okay,
But as a contractor, and like I said, doing this, do not let somebody just patch it, fill a couple holes, dig a couple bad areas out. That thing is alligator, it's dried out, it's oxidized. It needs to be taken out and be done. It's getting up the ghost.
thank you. Any other questions?
I would be curious if we were to consider just doing the yellow and the blue this year and the rest maybe next year, what that quote would look like for this year, just the yellow and the blue.
And do we really need to pave behind Psalms? I
No.
mean, that little gravel deal.
No, it's not a,
3,500 square feet of asphalt has gotta be thousands of dollars.
And as he pointed out, it's also the grading and preparing it. It's not like he's just going over the asphalt.
Yeah.
That one would be easy where the gravel's at, because all I gotta do is grade on. You've got a really hard base right now, except you got about 1.5 inches of real loose material. We can't pave on top of that, it'll make the asphalt slide. It's gotta be taken off, and it just needs a little TLC, then we can pave it, there's no doubt in my mind about that.
Okay. Well, I think let's do it this way, Dennis. Let's talk about this a little further at our budget meeting. And if you guys come up with the idea that you're interested in doing half next year and moving forward, we'll get with you and we'll get a price for the half and we'll entertain that. Otherwise, we can also talk about maybe waiting and getting the whole. I mean, to me, we're gonna pay to bring in the equipment twice. And so we're gonna have some savings there. And to me also, if we're gonna have 5 to 7 days down, let's pick a time when 5 to 7 days down doesn't affect us at all, or less than it does in the springtime. I think we might be able to get through this spring and just maybe have it for a late fall possibility. So let's talk about those things at the budget meeting. Is that okay with everybody here?
I saw in here that this includes, I believe, if I'm reading it right, it does include striping.
Yes.
So you do that as well?
We're gonna put all the wheel blocks back down
Okay.
that you have now, even in the concrete, I mean, the gravel areas. And we're gonna put 2 coats of traffic paint down, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and that's something else that the one with the 180, it did not.
All right, getting clear. Thank you. Anything else on the parking lot? Let's move on to deeding adjacent lots. Now, there may be someone here that wants to participate in this discussion, and I'm okay with that, if the rest of the board's okay with that, because as we've disclosed prior to inviting A&E to come up with a solution for this, for the community, we've disclosed that someone is interested in combining two lots together to put a garage on one lot that are not adjoining. We've, as a community and as an A&E committee, we've always assumed, you know what happens when you assume, we've always assumed that the rules for garages and houses were attentive to combined adjacent lots. A border for two of those lots together. There's several of them out here. There's some on the waterfront. Excuse me. So in discussions with the A&E committee, Putnam County has an allowance in their county that if you have a home in Putnam County and you own a lot in Putnam County, no matter where it is, you can deed it together. So they've kind of thrown a conflict in our A&E rules because of that situation. It's hard for me to believe that they haven't questioned that in the county, because it seems rather strange that if I own a house in Greencastle and a lot in Heritage Lake, I can deed those two together. It just seems weird to me, but that's just me. It has been told to us that that is Putnam County's way of doing things right now. Whether they're going to change that in the future, we don't know. As an A&E committee, it has been reviewed here, and obviously the problem we have is if I own a house in Jefferson Valley and I own a lot in Mill Springs, and I want to deed those two together, I can legally do that through Putnam County. And then someone's argument might be, well, I want to put a garage over here because I want to store my boat over there, and I have my house over here. And wants to stop somebody from building a garage over there and maybe, you know, get laid off for this job, so they decided to work on cars in that garage, and then we have a business in that garage over on the other side of the lake and a house over here. And there's several different descriptions that have been raised to the A&E committee and the board about how this can be taken advantage of. So in the meantime, the A&E committee has come up with what they think is a viable solution for us as a community. They have taken 421.3 and changed the wording as such. And the board has received these new words, and we are going to proceed tonight unless we get unless we get walled up by discussions for our first vote on this. This rule now states there must be a house constructed on a lot in order to construct a garage. Adjacent lots that have been deeded together, see Rule 154, I will read that, must have a shared property line in order to build a detached garage on the adjoining lot to the house. That is the new wording in this old rule. 154 wording is going to be changed to read, before submitting an application to the A&E Committee for construction over a lot line, continuous lots, the property owner must deed the two lots into one lot and record this change with Putnam County Clerk. A copy of the recorded deed is to be submitted to for any project that requires the properties to be deeded together. Lots that are deeded together cannot be separated once a structure has been built on the non-house lot or into the easement between the two lots. Which simply means if you're going to deed two lots together and you have a house on one lot and you never build anything on the other lot, if you want to sell that lot in the future and it has no structure, you may. You have to undeed them and you can separate them. If you build a structure on that combined lot, you no longer have the right to sell that lot. So nobody can sell a lot with a garage on it. Okay? Everybody understand that?
Mhm.
Any discussion?
So you still have to pay 2 fees for the 2 lots.
Yes. That has nothing to do with fees. Okay, so
Did you say you'd take discussion from the?
I will. Normal, yes, I will.
Thank you. I'm Dan Ramsey, Jefferson Valley, 663. I also own 656, which is directly across Heritage Drive from 663. When I was looking through the rules and regulations, I looked at the word contiguous. I looked up contiguous. It says in property law that's can have a general purpose road. They're also referring to it can be a stream, general purpose road or whatever. So my property 656 is also just about line to line parallel to my house lot. So it's not like I bought a house and a lot in Mill Springs in Jefferson Valley again. These are homes where I built a garage. The garage is directly across the street from me. I'm looking at it. So prior to my asking an A&E member through the office about this possibility, I've been told I'm right now that that's correct and I can do that. But the next
Been told by?
Well, I had a discussion with Ken and April on the phone with me, and Ken can agree or deny or.
What I stated to you was, as of right now, you could submit your plan to the A&E committee. The A&E committee was highly against it, but if they, at this point, until the rule gets changed, that if you submitted it and they declined it, then it has to go to the board for a variance. That's the process today.
Okay, and I guess the why would be my question, because I feel that as a member following the rules and regulations, that I am in the right to proceed with this building, and I don't even see why a variance would be needed for me to do something that's written in black and white. And I do understand, Ken and I had a pretty long discussion, and I do understand why we, as a member of this community, don't want garages scattered all over that. People are building engines, and I know these things. People are building engines in a shop behind a shop, so those things are happening. I simply want a garage for my gardening, my boating, and my yard maintenance equipment, So I don't believe I'm asking for anything more than a member of this community should ask for. This compliance thing, that's the part that bothers me, is if it's policing that we're talking about, it seems that we have a policy that it policed to hold people compliant. I'm not gonna build an apartment garage. I'm not gonna build it's simply a place to put my equipment so that I can actually put my cars in my garage, because I don't have a lot wide enough to expand my garage on my property. So, it's absolutely not looking to do an end run around anything. Just put a garage that the only person really looking at it is me. And I know neighbors don't count because neighbors can move. I don't mean that in a bad way, but they don't count in making a decision as a whole, but my neighbors would agree that
Where on the lot it would be your garage?
toward the 30-foot line front, because it's a lake, if you want to call it a lakefront lot.
It is a lakefront lot.
Yeah, I've been out to California, they have Lakeview and Lakefront.
Right.
So-
Yours is a lakefront
So
lot.
that's what I'm saying is, I should put it toward the front, because I don't want to do anything that, that would obstruct any views or usage of any of my neighbors toward the rear of the property.
So it's going to be closer to the 30-foot off of Heritage Drive?
Right, correct.
Yeah, his problem is the two lots are across the street from each
I
other.
understand, yeah.
And
Does
I-
everybody know the property?
How does the proposed rule change affect his plan?
It would not allow.
Because it would not allow it, because we're talking about adjacent lots?
Oh,
And
have you,
his-
so you don't have approval yet?
No, because I don't want to tie up everybody's world, but I started in July by asking this question, was waiting for a phone call back. Never received a phone call back. I'm beginning to wonder, Ken, if I do have some kind of phone issues, because I don't have record of a call or a voicemail from you, so.
Yeah, I called, left him a very detailed voicemail Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, and I don't even have the missed call, so I don't know where that went. So I called in this morning to make sure that, so I wasn't even aware that all this was going on, because my grandchildren live in California, so I'd been out there for 3 weeks. Right before I left, April had been out for a week, and she was the one I was contacting and working with. So, we went through a long period of time and a board meeting where I was unaware, and so was grateful that Ken said, well, I'll talk to Paul and see if, we can I can at least have some input before we drive this one home, so. And absolutely agree, as I told Ken, no, I've got an empty lot next to me, I don't want somebody who doesn't live around here sticking a garage up there, because.
But you can't trade them? You couldn't trade the neighbor? I'm
Maybe
serious.
they would,
That's
for
not
a
a joke.
lakefront lot.
I can't trade him a lakefront for a $20,000 lot, it used to be a $5,000
I mean,
lot, right?
it gives you an option to get a garage. For the record, I am on your side on this. I think that lots that cross the street should be allowed, but that's my AJ personal opinion, not the board's opinion. My personal opinion is, I think if you are across the street directly, now, directly can become, well, it's kind of kitty cornered, and now it's a little to the right or a little to the left, and it can be
Mine is like,
further.
It is.
Right, and I'm aware of where your house is now that she showed me what we're talking about, but I'm just saying, like, that rule would probably be a page long about if we had to try to write a rule that said, okay, well, the ones across the street are okay as long as it's directly within so many feet, and I think it would become more convoluted, but I agree that it would be nice for people that have that option of across the road from them to be able to buy and build a garage. Personally, I think that would be okay, but
and it's so I can put things away,
with that being said, as you pointed out, what's in black and white is the only thing that counts. So if we don't write it, at least in my opinion, write it detailed enough.
Right, well, and that's why we're having this discussion. I'm not here to try and make a decision so that you don't have a leg to stand on. I mean, my first thought about this whole process was we need something for the neighborhood to understand. That's the first priority of this board, to go back to A&E and get something for the neighborhood to understand that we're going to follow this way. Now, once we have something for the neighborhood to understand, does that mean you can't do what you want to do? In my mind, it does not. It means that you have to apply for it a different way. However, because of the discussion and because of the way you've interpreted the rules in our A&E rules, contiguous is a word that has been described as ambiguous in this particular case. According to one of the definitions, it is a common border. Now, how do we define a common border? A common border is a common border in my mind. Now, you've stated that you have read a definition that maybe includes the fact that there could be a stream in between the common border or a road in between the common border. If I'm gonna rewrite this for the community to understand, I want it to be specifically correct. And I want you to get, have a fair shot at doing what you want to do. Originally, when this was explained to me, to be honest with you, to be very honest with you, I assumed that you were gonna put the garage down there by the lake so that you could have basically a boathouse, not without a boat. So you could have your stuff down there close to the lake, which would make sense to me, anybody that has a lakefront property. The way that you're describing it means, it gives me a little bit more a relaxed feeling about what you're trying to do. Go ahead.
I'm looking up contiguous as it relates to lots. And the definition that I found reads this way. What are contiguous lots? Contiguous lots are pieces of real estate that are adjoined or adjacent to each other. Contiguous lots share a common boundary, so parcels of land separated by a public street or other lots are not considered contiguous, even if they are owned by the same entity.
Mine was under, Google can bite you as well as can help you, but mine was under a website.
Come on, everything on the internet's right.
Even when it
It had
conflicts.
lawyer in the title and it had property.
But I think,
Like I say, not trying to end run something, it just felt like.
I guess my question to you is this. And we're asking questions, we're discussing this so that we come to a conclusion somewhere down the road that we're all happy with and makes sense for the community. My question to you is this: if we rewrite these rules and use the word contiguous and we even put a definition in there for it so that everybody understands what that word means and it doesn't come from Google versus Webster versus this lawyer versus that lawyer. This is the definition we're applying to this rule. Would you be willing to apply for a variance to get your garage?
I think would I have a choice?
Well, we could make it so you don't have a choice, but I would rather you feel comfortable with your other.
Yeah, I just want to know that I have a fair, in this community, I have a fair opportunity to do what with my property is, as I think is appropriate.
Yeah, I've been here for 10 years, and I think that every situation I've been involved with, in my own mind and the board's mind, we have been fair, and we have given out variances. And we have convinced the A&E committee that the variances are fair to the community because of circumstances that those community members have. Your circumstances is a rare circumstance,
Very
in my
unique.
opinion.
Very
Yeah.
unique.
Well, especially now, there aren't that many lots that
Right,
are going on
available.
Baltic, so there aren't that many lots out there that you're gonna find that
Okay.
to happen.
And something else to take in consideration, when we're getting the definition right, I mean, what about the guy that has a lot that isn't directly across the street, but it's kind of catty corner, but there is a little bit of overlap between the roads? Would that be okay? So we gotta make sure we address
I think that
that.
goes up for a variance, and
Yeah.
then we.
Either gets it or doesn't.
And then we, as the board, decide, is that 2 feet of property lines across from each other, commonality, is that, does that meet our intent?
Yeah, if you look on back on some of the discussions we've had, some of them have been pretty heated and pretty collection of lots of people's views. Some of those views were applicable, some of them weren't. Some of them were in the heat of discussion, some of them were logical. And the board's position on those is to come up with a ruling that is fair to the community, as he suggested, fair to the community. We're not doing this for you, we're doing it for the community. And I think that in your situation, what you're planning on doing, we can come up with a fair opinion. At least this board can, I believe.
I think so.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any more discussion?
This is a lakefront that he wants to put the garage on.
That's correct.
It's
So he's taking
way,
a 250,000, say, piece of property and putting a $25,000 garage.
I mean, really,
well, it
that's
might be a
irrelevant.
bigger garage.
That's irrelevant to the subject at hand.
We have other lakefront lots that only have a garage.
According to
This
our
is
rules,
Next door.
Next door.
according to our rules, he can never sell that lakefront property without building a house on it.
Yep.
And if he builds a house on it, he's gonna have to split the deed up and then apply to build a house on it.
And he's going to build his house way in the back on that hill, which
Right.
would be really exciting to watch.
We're gonna live feed it back.
And get the equipment
Now-
around the
And get the
garage.
equipment around the garage.
Keep in mind, this is not a lakefront property on the main body. This is not a lakefront property on a large cove. This is a lakefront property on a smaller cove.
It overlooks
So
the silt basin.
It's his decision, yeah.
Well, I want
There's
you to
nothing wrong with
price
that.
up on it, but yeah, that was, my point was, we did buy the lot to build. The house directly across the street came up for sale at what I considered an extremely reasonable price, especially it was during the time of craziness as is. And I bought it, and I had already bought the lake front lot, lake view lot, no, not that even, lake down the hill lot. So we were gonna build on it, realized we were never really gonna be looking at the lake anyway, but we just wanna get down there and still have it. Great place to walk the dogs, so, anyway, I don't wanna drag it out, but, yeah, I appreciate what I appreciate is the chance to have the conversation before it was done and said, and have to fight back uphill, so,
Go
thank
ahead.
you.
So my thinking
You're welcome.
is, if this rule goes into place, like that would definitely just be a good candidate for a variance. So I'm not thinking that we need to throw out the bathwater completely, or the baby with the bathwater. But then make sure that he understands, specific to his situation, that it's just a very good chance for applying for the variance. Because the A&E committee has put so much time into this, and I respect their thoughts that seem to be very passionate about it.
And it is a hole in the A&E write-up that needs to be filled. It is ambiguous. It is something that needs to be answered.
But the point being, although the language may not be ideal for his circumstance, he still has another option. He
Sure.
applies for a
Right.
variance, and what I've seen from the board is that the board is pretty understanding when very unique situations come up. So,
Okay, so the way I see this right now, and if anybody disagrees, by all means, let me know. If we're going to make a motion right now to vote on this, it'll be 2 meetings, okay? Because it's not something that we have to decide today. If we make a motion on this particular item, we will include the fact that we will put in a definition to that word, along with the wording that the A&E committee has supplied us with. And if that is sufficient to you and you want to vote on it tonight, then we can move forward with a motion. I would only suggest that if we have more discussion with the A&E committee and/or we feel like we need more discussion about how we're going to do this, then we should table it tonight, because I don't want to get into the point of either voting it down or voting it up, and then we can't change directions. Now, we can obviously change anything we want as a rule in the A&E committee, anytime we want. But there's no sense in, I don't think there's much sense into having to change this once we go into it.
I think I made a motion to table this.
I would say at least.
Till we get the language.
Give the A&E committee an opportunity to kind of debrief on this discussion, and then give them
Would
a
you-
chance to decide.
Okay. The A&E committee meets
This week?
this Thursday, 15th. Are you available on the 15th, 7 o'clock?
Should be. I'll make every attempt
If you could let us know tomorrow at the office, call April, and she'll put you first on the docket. And I think we owe it to the A&E committee to let them hear what you have to say before we vote on this. I think that's a fair way to deal with it. You guys okay with that?
Totally agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. I'll be there.
Okay, we'll table this. If you don't mind, please get a hold of April tomorrow and have her put you on the schedule.
You have a.
Thank you.
You have a motion to table.
I mean, I'm supposed to motion for that, right?
You did?
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling?
Opposed?
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We'll table it, go to the A&E committee, and see you next month. All right. Thanks for putting up with, giving us the opportunity to talk about that. All right, where were we?
Palm up.
All right, next one is Kent with boat slip requirements.
This will not take that long. I sent this.
Might be residual.
Yeah. We have had we've had two leases, one for a boat slip and one for a tie-up for a long time. What we've done was consolidated both of them together, cleaned up a lot of verbiage, put it on one page. We did add a few things that had kind of started driving this, and that was where we have located, I can't remember, I thought there was more than that. 17?
17.
I thought that was 11 this year, 7 last year. I don't know.
Anyway, we had located that there was several people that was renting a boat slip or a tie-up that did not even have a boat. I can only assume that they're holding on to it, so they won't have to go back on the list. That does not make it fair to the multiple people that are on the list. So what we did was, and also with them not having a boat, and they're not even registering, so we're losing out on money that way. So the only one thing that we did add, you see number 9 and 10, leasee must maintain current HLPOA watercraft sticker and have occupied the lease space by May 1st. The reason that's kind of the beginning of the summer, and it says if the site is not occupied by the leasee on or before June 1st, the leasee has forfeited their site and will be assigned to a new leasee. So basically reason we chose that date was because that covers the first holiday. Most people, if they don't have their boat in the water and in their slip, or have a boat purchased by that holiday, we're gonna move on. You forfeit that, they're gonna have to read this before they sign it. So, that's gonna be the new rule to kind of protect us. Because we get a lot of people questioning why we have so many boat slips just sitting empty. And we got 100 people on the waiting list. It's just not fair to them. So we added number 9. Number 10, we also added leasee cannot own a waterfront property unless approved by the property manager. We've got 1, maybe 2 people that are holding on to a spot and they live on the water. One person is redoing their dock, and he's renting one, and so that's why we put in for the discretion of the property manager in case something like that weird kind of takes place. But those are the 2 things that we added. I sent this to you guys mainly if there's any input, 2 cents you want to add that maybe we didn't cover. I read it several times. both office ladies have went through it, and this is what we come up with. I think it's pretty iron tight. Anybody have any 2 cents?
Do we, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate, because I like doing that.
I'm gonna make your shirt this says that.
If the person or people that are leasing that space, how will we monitor that it wasn't there May 15th?
We could
Or are we just saying because they own a sticker? It doesn't have to be physically parked in there, they just have to have purchased a sticker to.
Correct.
To go with that. I just,
That's one way we could find that out, is if they've got and it is mainly driven because we've got about every one of these people that have got these do not have a boat.
I'm just making.
So we can simply go into our system and find out who is, if that person that's renting it, have they purchased a boat sticker?
So the only caveat I would ask to that is, for some reason they ordered a boat and we went through the year we just went through where people would order it and it's 6 months before they get the boat. They've since sold their old boat. Could they at least go in and purchase the sticker even though they don't have a boat, and then the marina would hold on to the sticker? They're gonna lose their spot just because they have a boat on board?
We can't sell a sticker without proof of insurance, having the boat.
Well, I didn't know if they could spend the money on the sticker. The marina would then hold the sticker.
Well, I think, you want to play devil's advocate? Okay, now, somebody tell you that story, that they got one purchased, and then that never happens. And then it's still sitting there, and it's just because they have the extra money to buy a boat sticker and us hold on to it, that is still not right for the people that have been waiting in line for a boat sticker. We kind of bounced all these what ifs. I shouldn't, the best way of saying it, we deal with a lot of people that tell you a lot of different things. And most of the time it is to benefit themselves. So we have to kind of take in consideration of all the scenarios that could be told, and that's kind of what we did. And we're pretty used to them by now. So,
That's why this is an operations decision.
And what approximately, what was the value of the lost revenue this last year by people that just rented a spot but didn't put a boat?
$4,700. The year before was $2,700, $2,400. The total amount was almost $7,000 in 2 years. We have not been able to collect because the boat slips have remained empty and they never bought a sticker for their boats. There are some people that haven't had a boat in the parking slip for 2 years plus. So it just remains empty. And then, people call the office every day, go, where are we on this list? I just saw 3 slips open, and they've never been filled. They never have boats in them. And then we call somebody, or the office calls somebody that has a boat slip, they never use it. And then whoever it is that calls it, I rent the boat slip, I'll do with it what I want. Well, now you can't. You rent the boat slip, put a boat in it. If you don't put a boat in it, we move on. This is a private neighborhood. It's not like Geist Reservoir where you pay $600 a month for a boat slip and they don't care if you use it or not. They could care less. Here it's private, it's our community, and if there's somebody willing to wait on a list for 2 years to get a boat slip, but somebody else could buy a boat slip and leave it empty, it's not fair. Just like the man in the back row said, we're trying to be fair. And I think this is a fair thing to do. It's up to the operations to change the contract. Make sure that we're doing a fair thing for the community. That's my 2 cents.
In the last 2 years, there's 20 boats.
Yep.
Any other questions on this? We don't have to vote on this. It's an operations thing. So
I just wanted your
your
opinion.
feeling and one of your opinions, and make sure we're moving in the right direction. It sounds like good to you, and we'll move forward. Okay? Devil's advocate, you okay?
I just wanted to make sure I understood it so I
All
could
right.
explain it myself.
Next on the list is Clear Creek lot purchases.
All Forbes again.
I know. When Ken can't think of anybody else, puts my name down.
You told me to put it on there.
All right.
That's what you're talking about.
Okay, Clear Creek Conservancy has asked us to give them the okay. They have contacted 3 individuals right now that are interested in purchasing the lots next door to their house. Adjacent property, yes. Contiguous.
They are saying.
And so that for the audience's interest here, I'll read these so that you know they've covered all the bases. And what we're asking the board to do tonight is approve the fact that we're going to go ahead and give them the right to do this, and under the
Lease agreement?
under the agreements that they're going to sign for these lots, and under the fact that we are going to send out notices. The only thing I added to this is that we will send out notices from the office telling them that these lots are available and the people next door want to buy them. For obvious reasons, somebody may have a problem with that out there in the community. So we give it, just like we send out reports of the A&E committee getting ready to approve permits on lots and docks and fences. We do that so that if the next door neighbor knows that they're not going to be happy with what they're going to do, they have a chance to come to the A&E committee meeting and demonstrate against that particular permit. So these are the lots that are being, we're going to give the okay for if you agree. It's PL 160, Victory Hills 179, JV 516. I won't read the names of the people that are trying to buy these lots.
JV what?
But you can find that out at the office anytime you want. JV 516. Clear Creek Board of Directors met today. Ken Roselle and the HLPOA will be asking the Board of Directors to release the lots you are interested in purchasing for our agreement with them. We've had an agreement with Clear Creek that we control, what is it, 142 lots? 135 lots. They're asking us to give them, they also suggested that we give them a blanket, yes, you can do this with any lots. We kind of backed up a little bit and said, let's do it with the lots that people are interested in, so we can control it better, and we can send out these advisories to the community that these lots are being purchased back from Conservancy. So it is agreed and understood that the purchase of this lot will be combined with the original adjacent lot, and a residential home may be expanded across the lot line between the purchaser's original tract and the lot purchased, which is subject to this restriction as long as the utility easement previously dedicated is not used is vacated. Any structure built on this lot will be required to seek approval from the A&E committee. This restriction shall be considered as binding upon any subsequent purchaser of said lot and shall run with the land. And then the board, the Conservancy Board has put a purchase price on these lots of $20,000. If you are still interested in purchasing, please let them know. Once these lots have been released for sale, they will prepare a special warranty deed and sales disclosure, which you will need to file with the recorder's office. And then they suggest the price of those filings. So these lots are going to be combined with their lots, and when they sell their property, they sell the 2 lots together with the house on it, correct?
Yeah, yeah. And when we were selling lots and then we stopped, we at that time did the same thing that you're talking about doing. If someone comes to us and wanted to buy a lot, we sent a letter to each adjoining lot owner and tell them that that lot was for sale. And everybody had a chance at it, not that we'd sell it and somebody sitting on the other side of the lot didn't know it. We sent those letters out from Conservancy whenever we would sell a lot to adjacent property owner. And I guess what I need to throw in here a little bit is the fact that I just gave you, we went after government money to try to keep from having to raise rates and so forth. And, you know, if people want these lots to build a garage on, they wanted to put a kid's play set on them, whatever they want to do with them, you know, if with the money that we're gonna be spending, our philosophy was that, you know, we're sitting here with 135 lots and we have to raise the sewage rate, are we being fair to the freeholders? You know, just to settle the lots. So if we can sell a number of lots and make a couple of $100,000 or $100,000 or $300,000, whatever it is, as long as we hold by this regulation. Our attorney drafted the agreement that the lots would have to be deeded together, and if the homeowner sold that house, he had to sell he couldn't split the lots and leave a garage sitting there. He had to sell the adjacent lots together.
And at the same time, we're gonna get fees or assessments for both lots, which we don't get now.
We'll get assessment
Yeah.
on these lots. The county will get tax money on these lots because the Conservancy, as a federal entity, does not have to pay the fees or the taxes. So if we sell the lots, then you guys get your assessment, the county gets their tax money.
Okay? So at this time, I'd like, I'm sorry?
Is this open to any outside discussion?
Sure.
Just a point. I think people have to understand the value of green space. In the last 18 months, we've put in over 150 new homes. That's 150 sections of green space that we have lost. And I think people need to put a value, I know I certainly do, put a value on green space. And I think it has a little higher value than the amount of the assessments that we're going to collect or the taxes that go back to Putnam County. That's just my opinion. And from what I heard Dwayne say, the Clear Creek Conservancy, in the very likelihood that they won't need any additional money. So the idea of this money going back into the current project is probably moot. At least that's my understanding from what Dwayne just said. That's just my opinion.
There's also an opportunity that people may be buying them to keep the green space so nobody will build next to them. That's a very good possibility. They may leave them green space.
Anybody else? I would take a motion at this time to release these lots to Conservancy. The lots that I suggested, PL 160, Victory Hills 179, JV 516. And that motion will also consider that we will send out a notification about those, and Conservancy is going to send out a notification about those as these sales are taking place. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we pass it.
The motion is to give these 3 lots to Conservancy to be sold to the adjacent homeowner, and we will send out notices, and Conservancy will send out notices. And the motion has just been made by Steve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
So do these three have purchasers lined up?
Yeah, he's talking to they're the ones that have
They've
started
reached
this.
out for these.
There's
Okay.
their names. And I cross-referenced that they own the adjacent lot right next door.
Okay,
Not across the street.
that concludes our new business, and we move now to the forum. If you would, please state your name, and your lot number, and your concern. Yes, sir.
Steve Weber, 153 Gettysburg Drive. And can I come out here? Is that right?
Sure.
I've been asked to speak on behalf of the pickleball players at the lake. I'm wondering if the board can help us solve a problem. When we have somewhere between 12 and 18 players about every Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we often have to play on a court that looks like this. There are two courts over there, and there's another view of it. I'll leave these pictures with you, by the way. Here's another view of it.
I need to email them to us, I think.
I think we have an email.
Okay. And, oops, sorry. And one more. Well, as you can expect, when you have players out there, it's really a safety issue as we are playing the game. You'd be really proud of our group. We try to be really careful in terms of trying to avoid those spots and even hit to those spots. But as you can expect, we've had multiple slips, I would say even slides, and even a couple of falls as well. So what we're asking from the board is some help in solving that problem. And we'd like you to consider putting some money in the budget to help essentially repair this situation. As you can expect, there's multiple ways of doing this, multiple approaches. We've done some just back of the envelope stuff, and just to resurface it is probably something in the area of 8,000 to 9,000. That's the number we have seen. I'll call it on the internet, and we all know everything's true on the internet. But there are multiple ways of doing it, and if we wanted to do a repave, which may be a more permanent solution, we got to obviously tack on to the marina repave they were talking about as well. We probably could get some leverage from that. But we're not experts on this, so we, certainly if the board, in their wisdom, would want to do a different thing, perhaps either make a more longer-term type solution, that's fine as well. We're just trying to get this fixed so that we can play in a safe way. We're also willing, as part of our group, to be part of a kind of an ad hoc committee to help the board do some research on some solutions and try and kind of get the best solution for the community at this point in time. But right now, it's very unsafe. And like I said, kudos to the people that play, because they really are trying to be careful and not hurt one another in the process. So, any questions? Yes.
Steve, your timing's pretty good because we are getting ready to do budgeting. But it would help us immensely if you could give us more than back of the napkin price to budget. Okay. I mean, if we're talking $8,000 or $10,000, maybe we could. But if we're talking 45,000, it's a bigger problem, right? So if you could help us with a better financial plan, I think we need that.
Didn't we look into this with Shannon and some other stuff a couple years ago?
We've had back of the napkin results from different people, but we've never had a specific contractor to say, here's what you need to do that'll last 2 years, here's what you can do to the last 5 years. So I think that's what we're asking for. We'd love an ad hoc committee to do this. We get a lot of suggestions, as you well know, from the community to tell us things they'd like to have, and there's a list. I mean, one that comes to mind is a dog park. We still don't have a dog park. That's because nobody took it on. So we would like to get some good information, and this is good timing. We're going to meet for the first budget meeting next Monday. And maybe we're gonna be crunched into a time situation where we can only get that Band-Aid for y'all, before next spring.
Right.
And then we look into possibly budgeting next year for the big picture, the 15-year picture, something like that. I'd like to see that. I don't like spending money that's only gonna last a year, but this particular case, it might be.
Well, that's the $64 question.
Right.
I mean, Rick, you asked about kind of I think from what I've seen one that has been replaced or resurfaced for $8,900, something like that. I've seen another one for $6,000. So I think the kind of resurfacing approach would be kind of in that area from a magnitude standpoint. I'll call it the 6 to 9 area, somewhere there. But I'm not an expert at this.
Right.
So the thing is, someone could say, well, that's what the resurfacing thing is, and then someone said, yeah, but that's not gonna solve the problem, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. If we've had these discussions prior, and we've had one gentleman say that the thing has to be core drilled to figure out how long it's gonna last. Obviously, I think the gentleman that was the expert on paving, unfortunately, he left, but it seems to me that there's a difference between covering over a court rather than covering over a parking lot, because you have trucks and everything else coming in.
Right.
And we only have people playing pickleball and tennis on this thing, so it's gonna be a different engineering, I would assume. And maybe we have to fill up some holes before we resurface it and that kind of thing.
I think there have to be some repair that have to be, at least to level it out a little bit. I mean,
To give you a little education, that's the whole problem with it. The contract and everything was just signed when I took over, so all I had to do was facilitate it because it was already paid for.
Right.
But after reading the contract, it said that there was 80%, they guaranteed 80% of water drainage, which meant 20%.
Well, city.
Yeah, and that is what has caused the problem, is those spots is where water is sitting. And so I think resurfacing, if that's an option, that's gotta be a must, because that resurfacing has got to be towards almost 100% to shed water.
Yeah.
And then you got the cost on, after resurfacing, of the painting and the striping and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
But the striping is very minimal, and then what you could do is if you did that and restriped it, you could actually have 4 courts on there, okay? And that you literally could use it because you could do it that way, and then more people could play.
Just a question, the pickleball, do you need the entire thing colored blue? Or could it be asphalt color, or whatever color the surface is made out of? The color doesn't matter in that, right?
I don't think so. I mean, if you look at there's a bunch of newer ones up in Indianapolis, and they have the blue thing in the middle, okay? And so that's probably the professional coloring and all that type of stuff, but,
I think the Pickleball Association just recommends that it be contrasting colors, that way the players
So you know what's in and what's out.
know where you're
Yeah,
at.
It just has to be contrast.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you put, and forgive me, I'm not a pickleball expert, but a bunch of white lines and black asphalt, that would give you your
Yep.
setup. I mean,
But you're still gonna have tennis players.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's
That
not
would
just gonna be
eliminate the tennis
pickleball
courts.
courts.
right,
Yeah, what you're doing is just drawing in the lines for the pickleball court.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, forgive me, I don't know the different sizes or.
Right. So, to your point, if it could be repaired and resurfaced, and if that makes sense.
That has been the problem. I've been here 8 years, so and that was done probably midway through my tenure. And so we've got 7 years out of it, maybe. And it's already looking like crap. And
Was that a $6,000 to $8,000 project then, do you remember?
It was more than that, I think. With the fencing, there was new fencing put up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fencing's great.
Yeah.
I would think we're gonna have to take some fencing down if we resurface it and put it back up again.
Probably,
Yeah. So, I guess where do we go from here? Do we get an explanation of what $8,000 is gonna provide us, and then we or are you asking us to put in the budget for next year, $8,000 or $9,000, and then you'll find out how all this stuff is gonna come into play, or where are we?
Well, I would love it if you put 9,000 in, because that doesn't seem unreasonable, okay, based upon this, with the caveat that we hopefully will, we're not gonna throw good money after bad. And like I said, our committee can do some research for you to kind of figure out the best way of doing, obviously, with Ken. But I'd love it if you guys put at least that much in there.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. We'll look into that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And in the meantime, I mean, don't, let us know where you are in the research and that kind of thing, and then we'll, I'll give you some idea once we meet Monday, and even the second meeting after that, where we're looking. Because we'll come up with ideas of, there's a lot of other things that we're trying to get in the budget, obviously.
And I don't know whether it's feasible to get an estimate or two within the next week, but if you could, some concrete information would be fantastic. And I just Googled it, and I mean, a couple of, Indianapolis-based folks popped up that do that. Maybe you could get them out here in the next few days to give you a ballpark estimate.
I just had an offer of another resident to share an Indy tennis court contractor with you to talk to. I'll share that when I get it.
Yes, sir.
Wayne County 282, Patriots Landing. I'm back as siltation chairman again.
Are you?
I had notes.
You need
and I
different
missed one of
hats, so we know who we're talking to.
I'd like to have some community-minded person with a drone that would be willing to donate a couple of hours and take some pictures when the lake is down, like the second week of November, or first week of November, a couple of three places on the lake that I'd like to have some drone pictures taken of. So
Can we have interested people email you?
Pardon?
Can we have interested people email you?
Yes, ma'am.
At your JDK Kelly?
JD Kelly at
Okay.
281.
It's jdkelly281@gmail.com.
That's it.
So anyone out there who is a drone operator, please
Captain
email.
Bob, Thomas Turbo.
Yeah, there's quite a few out here.
If you also know somebody that knows how to fly one, that does not own one, we have got a brand new one that has not ever been used.
Who's this we?
Who's we?
The POA. Well, we, probably a year ago,
Black Friday shop.
the credit card that we use, you get, retrieve points on it. And we had accumulated so many points that we went through and bought things for the POA, and it didn't cost us a dime, but we just used some of our points and we purchased one of those. So if anybody knows how to fly one,
Well,
I can learn.
we got a brand new one.
The areas that need to look at
It didn't
it,
cost us.
it's not back up in coves and so forth. It's pretty open area and open water.
We can give you the instruction book.
Well, wait a minute now, I might be interested in this. Well, I might be interested in this.
You gotta be careful, some of these drones require a commercial license, I know. But
Well,
I know the property owners.
we'll ask for permission. I mean, forgiveness.
Forgiveness, yeah.
We
didn't know.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Tom?
Tom Novak, 25 Mill Springs. I was wondering if we could get a report on security on the water, specifically for this season, any citations / offenses that have been issued.
I'll take your application.
Pardon me?
I'll take your application, you can write them all day long.
I don't understand.
I'll take your application and you could go out and write them all day long.
So there haven't been any issues?
Yeah, there have been, but
I guess I was just looking for sort of a report on the citations that have been issued and for what offenses. one reason that I'd be looking to this information is what was alluded to, that the Lake Committee is looking to change some of the test questions. So if we knew these issues, we could make these high on the question list with the idea that it might help people.
Okay. And I'll get it to you, but it has been my experience when I give out that information, it's never good enough. It's just never good enough. So I don't bring it up, mainly because it's nobody's business. You know, who we find and who we don't. So, you know, they do their job. So it just, if I go out there and I tell you that we have written 10 for people going the wrong way. Well, you need to set at my place and you can write them all day long. It's just never good enough.
So that would be good enough for the answer that I'm looking for. That would mean that that particular question might be more prominent on the 20, 25 questions that we have our people take a test on.
Okay.
For me, that would be good enough. I don't need the people's names. I definitely wouldn't want the people's names.
The counts of the violations.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yes?
It just always
Anita
becomes an issue.
Johnson, 55 JV, just for the garden club. I wanted to let you know that all those tarps down in Lincoln Hill that make it look like look terrible, what we're doing is doing a solarization, and it's allowing the sun to kill all of the weeds that are in that patch and the seed bank below. When we initially did this, somebody got really excited and ran a rototiller through, and that brought up it didn't kill anything. It brought up all the seed bank that was below, and we had weeds that we just couldn't control. So we're doing this organically in respect out of the lake. We'll take that off about December and reseed with wildflowers. So it'll be looking better next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Tom?
Tom Novak, 25 Mill Springs. I was just wondering, with the budget review coming up, if the board in that review could address the renovations of the activity center bathrooms. If you could consider that. And my rationale for that is we have this beautiful music pavilion, and unfortunately some people are concerned about going into the porta potty bathrooms. So if we could possibly address the renovations of the activity center bathrooms, I think that would be a great expenditure.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. You guys, you need to take better notes. I can't be going back and forth, back and forth. We're gonna be here all night.
This is gonna be pretty short. I just wanted to respond to the green space comment.
Oh, okay.
We have the 135 lots. One reason that we've looked about moving some of those lots is the fact of the emerald ash borer. These ash trees are dead. We're spending thousands of dollars to cut down ash trees, helping to maintain green space. And if Tom should know, he comes to all the conservancy meetings, he should know. But at one time, we set these 135 lots out for green space and for the board to use for dog parks or whatever. And it's gone 5, 6 years and none of them have been used for anything. I think that we've done a pretty good job of maintaining green space. And I think if Tom is really concerned, that he can buy 2 or 3 or 4 lots and have green space and help out with that situation.
By the way, I couldn't buy the lots because it wouldn't be adjacent to me.
Oh, we can make it happen if you want to buy and keep green space.
All right, anybody else? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
That's a double.
All those in favor, stay. All those opposed, stay. Hey, I got a couple things real quick, okay? I just need to